Good morning. Today is September 22nd, 2025. It is 10:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for the record, this is Yahweh Elohim, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Hashem, Adonai. He who comes from heaven is I. We're going to cover a couple of things today. So, start off with, I don't know where this traction is being picked up from, that AI, AI wizard, something having to do with the things that transpire upon the earth have something to do with AI. I mean, just when I thought people could not possibly get any dumber, you guys do seem to find constantly a new low. Because that would be like giving your air conditioning glory for cooking breakfast. Like, the only association that the air conditioning would have with your breakfast would be that they both involve a temperature. I as Elohim, as Yahweh Elohim, as Joshua Elohim, however you really need to cut that pie, have never, sweareth I, saith Yahweh Joshua, have never used AI for a rite, for a rhyme, for anything. I don't even use AI for research purposes. I use the hardcover Bible as any research, and then I confirm that through generic biblical sites. So that's faulty. That's completely false. I use AI mainly for, or only really, like 100% of the time, for the artistic portion of when I do video covers, like the clip art. And that really stemmed from, I needed that. So when I first began doing rites, every photo that existed had watermarks all over it, which made the videos and the rites look cheesy. So it was a hell of a time trying to find something that could give, because sometimes the image can tell a story along with the story. Other times, the image just serves as a placeholder for a general theme or a general mood, or kind of like it was also supposed to help with the mindset. So, again, humans, you guys, when you guys fear things in the wrong way, it doesn't have the right output, right? So, by thinking that somehow AI is responsible for 3i Atlas or the pairing asteroids, and he's somehow responsible for the fires, the floods, the earthquakes, anything and all things, like that's faulty. Again, that is a very primitive mankind's type of intelligence. And I was just talking to Ashura just before she's hopping on her workday. And, we were talking about that. I was telling her, throughout history, there actually have been leaders, kings, Caesars even. There have been people of high intelligence that even I as Elohim disagreed with their purposes, because they weren't working them for me. But I could at least respect some human beings in the past for their equitable intelligence, which is something I as Elohim genuinely cherish. So again, that also is to combat a lot of these, Gnostic people that somehow want to classify me as the demiurge. Like, I'm not the demiurge. I'm not a byproduct of a fabled female goddess named Sophia. That's faulty thinking as well. Because I as Elohim, I value and cherish knowledge and impart that to humanity, not in evil schematic ways that Satan has done in the past and his angels have done in the past. But I as Elohim, I'm very patient with my people, and I teach the things that how can you walk a righteous life while still being productive in your own personal sphere, but also walking out a purpose that I have given you. Because imagine that the company of Yahweh Elohim, my company, as long as someone has a job, right, which is kind of interesting, me being on Earth in a way, kind of in the upside down world, being down here, I am not the employer in any way, right? I am the employed. I mean, well, technically I'm unemployed. You know, I'm full-time in my mission down here. But the point I'm trying to illustrate is that anytime you have agreed to your own salvation, right? When you have made your heavenly ascent, like Jacob's ladder, right? When you've made the heavenly ascent, and then you've been given your paper, you've been given your white scroll, and the white scroll, you know, is put into your heart, into your mind. And then let's use an example. Let's say, you know, someone was a music creator, right? Well, then they began, you know, walking the righteous path, and then they began, you know, coming out of sin. And then as they're progressing, right, at some point, they're going to be intercepted by one of my angels and brought up to the heavenly sphere, usually through a dream or through a vision. And then they're going to be made the offer, right? Will you do my will? Obey the commandments, love your brothers, but also when you love someone, that doesn't mean that we go around hugging and kissing people. That doesn't mean that we go around screwing each other. That doesn't mean that no, that's quite the opposite. That means that you're then tasked with true love, which means, you know, you're watching out for your community. You are an active participant in the lives of your children, of your wife, or your husband, and your family. You are actively doing things the right way all the time. And when presented an opportunity to extend your helping hand or extend your talents, or, you know, so in this case with the music creator, through his experience, let's say that he goes to heaven, right? I give him the purpose, now create music, you know, for me, Elohim, and then bipartisan, your congregation will also love it. You know, Lyndon is a wonderful example of this, you know, and see, Lyndon is one of those hearts that I never want those hearts to feel neglected, because they are in the right sphere. And the thing is, they're using their talents where I've told them to apply them. And a lot of times, it isn't so much that you can go in your own soul and open up your piece of paper, but it's waking up one day knowing that you're a part of something much bigger than what you were. And not bigger in man's world, right? Because understand that the entire world is really the devil's theme park. And all things, I hate AI. I don't even like computers. I don't even like having a cell phone. Ashura can tell you. I can get my feathers ruffled mainly over technology, because I do not like the nastiness of advertising. I do not like the nastiness of the internet in general. And I use it very, very sparingly. You know, and I do that because I don't want anything to do with it. I don't like what's on the internet. I don't like the blasphemous people all over the world. I really don't. And, you know, I try to keep my connection to mankind truly clean and pure, where I am going out in spirit. I'm visiting churches. I'm feeling hearts. I'm feeling minds. And there are sometimes highs where I'm going out in spirit and I'm like, you know, there's some soil to work with, right? Because understand it from my understanding, or from my perspective rather. My perspective should be your understanding, not your perspective, your understanding. That's faulty. Then you're calling the air conditioner the one that cooked your food, right? Like, oh, well, AI somehow is controlling the weather, or the government is somehow, you know, putting asteroids. That's what I mean. You guys, Ashura made a great point. She's like, AI, she's a corporate professional, so she and her company utilize AI. And so to her point, she's like, AI can't even make me like a legible graph. She's like, how the hell are humans thinking that it's like controlling the weather or doing this stuff, you know? So a lot of the things you guys discuss are kind of laughed at here in the heavenly abode. So, you know, I kind of tied up a few things. So, anyway, you know, giving your AC glory for cooking breakfast, you know, it is pretty dumb. And likewise, you know, when people are somehow, you know, putting me or categorizing me as somehow wicked or evil, you're completely wrong. You're completely wrong. You know, the things that are transpiring upon the earth, I'm just simply shedding light on them because I, as Elohim, I know these things. which is why I'm here to help you, right? So this is why I use a lot of like the daycare memes, because in the earth, it's all ran by children, right? The human populace is the human populace. You guys are all about a few inches away marginal-wise in intelligence and lifespan. You guys are all basically replicas of the same model, okay? It'd be like having the 1999, or I don't even know. Well, anyway, my HP laptop here is like a 2015. So imagine that everyone on Earth right now is the same 2015, Windows 10 type of computer. There's not much variance, right? The only variance is really how you've customized it, right? How many nasty tattoos do you have? How many crusty piercings do you have? Which is another thing, piercing the septum of your nose, that is a direct sin, direct violation. Tattoos on your face, on your neck, on essentially, the large part of your body is also sinful. You should not do that. You're defacing what is at some point in your experience supposed to be a holy vessel, a holy temple. So then you make your ascension, receive your purpose, and then when you've died to self, and then you're back in action, you see the world for what it is. And then at that point, you've had a radical transformation where now you don't see any car of value. You see someone's Ferrari, and the first thing that comes to mind is, what a selfish person. When you see like people partying up on yachts and drinking with girls in bikinis, the next thought is, I pity them. I pity them for thinking that this is somehow good. I pity the hearts that lust after the flesh. I pity the people that look at these things as somehow good. And if you don't have that mindset, then you have not made your ascension. Then you very much are in jeopardy right now of potentially going to hell or going for a rebirth. Most of those that have made their ascent, we're pretty much done. We're at like if you were looking at like a software being added onto a computer, it says like 39 minutes and 42 seconds. We're at the point where we're at 99.59 ascension rate. So when that hits 100, that's it. The line's cut off. All right. All those who have made their ascent have made it. They've come down, or they've stayed. They've got their purpose, and now it is time to execute on that purpose 100%. And who's the purpose, right? Because if the churches, were never led astray, then we would have had a different outcome. But humanity, they loved money more than me. They loved progress more than me. They loved their inventions more than me. They loved their political games more than me. They loved their wars more than me. I mean, you name it. Everything on that list comes before Elohim in man's eyes. So the only way to get mankind back to Elohim, me, Yahweh Elohim, is to begin removing those things that keep you occupied, right? So very much like father to child. Little Johnny, you still haven't cleaned your room. You're still pissing the bed. You're still eating junk food. You're still disrespecting your father and your mother. You're still hanging out with the bad kids. So now I'm going to take away stuff, right? I'm going to take away that game. I'm going to take away those toys. I'm going to take away that outside time. I'm going to start reducing everything that I need to get the child in a workable fashion, right? So many of you have hardened your clay around, who are you? I'm a business magnate. Who are you? I'm a millionaire. Who are you? You guys are all associating yourselves with a material purpose. Thus is faulty. And based upon your current idolatry, your current addictions, your current blueprints that you've all created for yourselves, that's how far away you are from me. So whenever a righteous person has made their ascent and they come down, and that's what I mean, then they're saved. They do not anymore walk around the earth going, well, am I saved? Am I not saved? Do I need to say Yeshua, Yahushua? Do I need to do that? No. They know one name and one name only, and that name is Yahweh Elohim Yahuwah. That's the same name. And that's all they care about. They're like, the boss gave me my marching orders, I'm golden. Simple, baby. It's simple. So if it's not that simple for you, your congregation, or anything, if you're like, no, there's got to be more complicated things in here because man said this, Paul said that, Matthew said this, then this random person said this Jewish teacher said that, you're man worshiping. You're man worshiping. Truly, you're man worshiping. You know, and so again, just to recap, so I can stay on track. There is in no way or shape or form that AI, artificial intelligence, is any more than a smart calculator. That's fact. I mean, it doesn't have the capacity to do anything, and it barely has the capacity to create decent AI art. And again, I would be fine picking from generic thumbnails, but every time I did, it would be copyrighted. And then sometimes it wouldn't even show the art because humans have claimed ownership over the art. Like, then congratulations, now no one's going to use it, butthead. Like, that's what I mean. You guys are so primal, right? Very ape-minded. That's what I mean. Some of you are ape-minded. So, in a way, like, Darwin is kind of on the right track, right? Where there is evolutionary man that is not evolutionary by itself. That would be stupid, right? If a creature needs an update or a creature needs to be multiplied and changed, such as why there are 70 different variations of so many different creatures, because different areas have different requirements, see? And human beings, there are some that are heavenly blooded, so it's a lot easier for them to understand spiritual things versus the material. A lot of times those people are more reclusive from society. You're not going to see them at clubs. You're not going to see them at party events or football games. They're going to be more or less very, very closed off to the world because they don't have a high tolerance for mindless bullshit. Versus your ape-minded brethren, okay? Neanderthal, ape-minded. Those that at one point did not speak. They did not have a coherent ability to take information, make a bind, put it into the mental storehouse, and then use that information, right? So these people, most of these ape people, right, they are really just the, I don't want to say that they're nobodies, but they have a longer walk to get to that soul swap than an existing heavenly bodied one. So, and that's what I mean, right? So the ape, you know, the ape puts his finger up his ass and licks it and is like, my ass tastes like cherries. My ass makes cherries. And meanwhile, the zookeeper is looking at the ape and he's like, no, it's because you ate cherries and then you pooped it out. You're not making the cherries. And the ape just looks at you because he cannot comprehend what that means. As far as he understands, his ass just made cherries. And thus, when we're talking about like Jesus versus Yeshua versus Yahushua versus me, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahuwah, it is a level of understanding. It is, if I had a grading system and it's like A, B, C, D, E, F, and I'm like, okay, if you are steeped in idolatry, you're using Jesus, you're in fashion fandom, you're in a culturally religious program that does not have anything to do with me, Yahweh Elohim, you're at the F zone. You're flunking your heavenly test. You're flunking your relationship with your Father, your Maker, your Elohim, Yahweh Elohim. And then as someone says, I'm going to put down the man worship, I'm going to turn off the TV. I'm going to stop having fantastical, like, wants. I'm going to stop this fervent, it's AI, it's the government, it's please worship me on TV, I'm a great pastor. Oh, if you follow me, God can't be mad at you. Like, all this nonsense. You guys are at F's, you're at D's, you know, and that's what I mean. Some of the best of you are like riding the CD line. And then you got to make that leap to being a B student. A B student is saying, Man, I don't need to be fed by the hand of man. I don't need an ego pet. I don't need to even look at the constructs that mankind has made, because it's not what the Creator intended or wanted anyway. So I'm staying away from it. That B student is like, I understand enough to know that I know nothing. And instead of having an ego and arrogance that's going to try to down this and proclaim that we're doing this in defiance of you, or that's what I mean. When you're in that debating stage and when you are trying to convince yourself and others that your thought process is right? When you see these rapture videos, like, based on the numbers, it has to be this, and then based on this, it has to be that. Well, that would be more like an F student, right? Because that would be like, Dad comes home and says, all right, I'm not bringing the pizzas in, not the Capri Suns, not the 6-pack of Dr. Peppers until the entire house is clean. I'm out. Call me when you're done. The F students are like, okay, so Dad will be back in 21 minutes. So we're going to wait for him. And then most everybody does that. They didn't hear what their father just told them. Nope, they're right back to pissing in the corner, drinking, smoking, whatever, right? All the bad kids doing bad kid stuff. The B students go, pretty sure Dad just said that if we get the house cleaned, he's going to then bring the pizzas, the Capri Suns, and the Dr. Pepper. So the B students are like, all right, you C, D, and F students are all just a bunch of flunkies. You're a bunch of burnouts. Dad's going to kick you out of the house, and he's never letting you back in. But before he does that, the B students are like, I'm going to clean up Dad's house. I'm just going to take the responsibility for my part in this. I participated in the debauchery. I'm going to write out my apologies to Father, and I'm going to try to get back in his good graces by just doing what he said. Dad even posted his house rules right here on the door, and none of us looked at them. Instead, we started making up fantastical reasons why not to follow them. And due to Dad's absence, we thought that we were doing good. Now, the F, D, and C students are crying that their house is burning down, that now everyone's got STDs, everyone's dropping dead, and they're all dismayed. Meanwhile, the B students should be like, no, Dad said this. Dad said that, basically this is what was going to happen, and this is what's happening. I believe in what the Father says. I believe in what His Word says. And, as the B student would know, I can't accurately judge my father when he's wrathful because of the abuse that has happened in his house. I can't sit here and judge the Father who has been the provider for all of us kids. The groceries have never stopped. The fruit has not stopped blooming. The ground has not given up to desolation. The air has not given up its oxygen. The sun has not withheld its light, nor has the moon, nor have the stars fallen from their orbit. Elohim has continued to provide and paid the electric bill, has paid the mortgage, has paid the grocery bill, regardless of the behavior of the sons in the home. In this parable, the home is earth. The sons or daughters are just everyone on earth. And this is the difference, right? So the F people are like, I'm so fucked up, I need Jesus. I can't do it. I can't stop peeing in the corner. I can't stop eating junk food. I love Jesus. And it's like, okay, that's your choice. You have free will, but I'm just telling you that you're in an F level grade. And you're not going to be there for the pizza party, the Capri Suns, the Dr. Pepper. You're just not. You're just not, right? Because the F students, they are the common people. They're like, well, we don't like Yahweh. We don't like God. So we want a Messiah that's going to be nice to us. We want a man worship. I mean, you guys have just recreated your Christ figure all over again with Charlie Kirk. So, I mean, what benefit is that going to do you? It's not. Is Charlie Kirk going to save your asses from hell? No. He couldn't even save himself from hell. How do you think he's going to do it with you? I give the warning. I give the instructions on how to clean the home. And upon inspection, when I see that it was not executed correctly, it was not done properly, it wasn't even attempted, mostly, no, then I have no more purpose for you in the house. Then get out of the house. Right? Pack your shit, Skippy. You're on your way. You know? But humans fear wrongly what they do not understand, and when you assign things wrongly, you're doing as trans, demons, and evil does. So we'll underline that one again. So when you are assigning me as the demiurge, right, you are doing as the transgender and demons do. When you are trying to put man worship into play into my religions, you're doing as the devil does, so Satan does, right? He is going to convince you somehow to rationalize your rebellion against me. That's the fact. And humans not only fall for it, you seek it out. And there's nothing more than a human likes is to when they can find other people who are equally wrong but have the same wrong beliefs. That's called a reaffirmation. And just again to the fallen angels, right? When Samael and Semyaza, and they're like we are collectively agreeing that we're going to rebel against the Father. They were secure in their collective because in their mind they're like, well, fuck him, because as long as we're down here, right, we're binding ourselves together. As long as we're down here and we're together, fuck him. Well, guess who's coming back crawling? Over half of them so far, because they're like, this sucks. These people are worse than we could have ever thought. And then the other half, right, they have just dug deeper into their disfigured idealizations. And that's really when you see the videos, you know, of always the devil, oh, and praise Jesus. And that's what I mean. They can only operate on lies. So people that genuinely have a demonic infestation, that's what I mean. The closest they're ever going to get to a spiritual anything is a false name and an idol, which is Jesus. It really is. There is no truth in it. And a defiled human cannot ever compute. Like a computer, like an old computer could not run a program, right, that's 10 years in the future. Like it doesn't possess the hardware to run that level of truth. So as a separating tool, as the ushering rod, it's here's the truth. Do you choose the rationale, the flesh of your own mind, of your own broken world, and you're trusting in man's pastors, preachers, and teachers? You're trusting in King James and King Charles and all these other people. And that means that you're not trusting in your Elohim. You're not letting truth be your sword because you're using false names. And as Yahweh Elohim, as the only one upon this planet who's ever laid eyes on Yeshua, who has ever, I inhabited the man's body as a spirit. I think I am at least, at the bare minimum, a source of trust. Everything I say not only comes to fruition, that's another thing. So you're saying that my actual voice on videos telling you what's about to happen, how is that AI? It's not. So again, it's faulty mankind continuously grasping straws because you refuse the truth, you're reluctant for the truth, because when you get to the truth, you don't like it. And mankind does not like eating what's good for them. Because if you did, you wouldn't be pursuing the flesh, you wouldn't be on yachts with champagne bottles thinking that this is the life, I pity you. Asher and I she likes her Chiefs games. I frankly don't give a rat's ass because, as I said, I only cater to that situation on her behalf. She works very, very hard. She asks for nothing. And if she likes the American football sport, then as my wife or as her husband, I am going to do what I can to make her happy with with engage, with a righteous gauge. My point is, I said, I take my blessing off. By the end of the season, you guys aren't even going to have football players left. Broken wrists, knees, torn shoulders, torn ligaments, broken backs, broken necks, concussions. You guys are just out there kicking your own asses. All because I take my hands off you. So go ahead. Keep trusting in your pads that you thought protected you. And humans, keep thinking that the false name of Jesus is going to protect you, because it's not. Because I've taken my hands off you. I frankly don't give a rat's ass, because when I take my hands off you, guess who then sees you? Demons. Demons do. Demons can't see the righteous. Demons can't even compute that a righteous person protected under the name of Yahweh, Elohim, Yahuwah even exists. And if you're protected under my name, you're not going to be in those situations to begin with. Because if you are a B student, you're going to be reclusive from the world right now. You are going to be abstaining from anything worldly. Truly. Family, food, the book. And use the Bible, whatever one you have. Your challenge is to go from Genesis to Revelation, and you take a highlighter of green, for this is good food. This was given to me by Yahweh, our Maker, our Creator, our Lord, our Savior, our Redeemer, our Leader, our everything. That's where the buck stops. That's what I mean. That's where the buck stops. And everything else, black it out. Go ahead. That's how serious B students are. Because B students are like, unless the Creator has given it to me personally, unless the Creator in making these videos is me giving it to you personally, so you can use that. That's obviously the point. Because I, at this time, as Elohim, I cannot rely on a spokesperson. I cannot rely on trying to mend two different time watches that exist in two different places to try to add up and line up. It's much easier for me as Elohim just to be fully present with you. So I can, and I am, I'm walking my B students by the hand. But if you are a C, D, and F student, you are on the naughty list, right? So you're open to your assassinations because demons can see you. I am not in any shape or form doing anything. I told you, the transgender are gender dysphoria because they once were demons, then they inhabited flesh, then they inhabited swine, then back to man, and sometimes they've went through women and men. So then when now they are born, right, as the last crop of Earth, the transgender knew this was coming. It's like, let's say you have 5 of these transgender people, maybe only 2 of them are actually demon grown. The other 3 are just, monkey humans that follow the crowd. And then those are the ones that end up in prisons that, want to be in a girl prison and they rape girls. These are the ones that shoot up children in churches. These are the ones that like all these things. And it's, again, by your own doing. If you guys would have, checked evil at the door, like back in the Wyatt Earp days, no one's saying you can't carry a gun. No one's saying you can't own a gun. But you can't carry a gun in town. No one's saying you can't sin. But you can't sin on Yahweh's earth. So if you want to, you're going to go to the place where Yahweh doesn't look. You're going to go to hell. You're going to go to the place that He withholds all His blessings, His rain, His prayer, everything. Then you want independence. You are left to fight with other imprisoned souls for your independence. You can be independent in hell for all I care. I don't care. If you want to act like a girl and you're a boy, or act like a boy when you're a girl, if you want to screw everyone at the same time, have orgy, nasty sex, I don't care. If you want to lie to each other that you're actually in hell and you want to tell each other stories that you're in heaven, I don't give a shit. I don't care. But you're not going to do it on this earth that is mine. This earth belongs to a righteous people. This earth belongs to a holy people. And despite what Jonathan Kahns of the world say, despite what the Stackelbecks of the world say, you know, maybe not Stackelbeck. I was a little too harsh with you, Stackelbeck. But you really do need to come out of the false name. Like, that's driving me nuts. Like, you should be smarter than this. I really don't want to put you on the monkey list. Because the fact is, you know, the earth does belong to a righteous people. And as I see it, right, you Christians had you had a heck of an opportunity to become a chosen people, as you were intended. You were supposed to say, I followed your Christ, your Yeshua. I followed his teachings. I obeyed and honored Elohim with everything I have. I have loved Yahweh Elohim with all my soul and all my might. I've obeyed his 10 commandments as Yeshua taught me. I have taught others to walk a righteous path. I have discipled people when I obtained a mastery of righteousness. I have applied my purpose to the kingdom of heaven and the heaven treasury. I have extended the works that were given to me by God himself. That's who this world is for. And again, the only place I find my name is in Israel. It's not in China, not in Japan, not in Russia, not in America. I mean, the only way it's in America now are through the remnant, right? And this again, right? If I have, like, and again, I'm a very factual Elohim. Like, a lot of my black congregations, right? A lot of you are actually going to be damned to hell as well, because you're having F grades, because you're thinking just because you have the name, you are still pursuing of the flesh. You haven't had a spiritual transformation. You haven't been up to the realms, and in which case, no one gives a crap what car you drive, because it's the equivalent of a lot of these, you know, like a lot of these black congregations, right? You guys want some kind of vindication for having a black Messiah or a black God or something like that. Let me tell you, you're naturally born human beings. You're naturally born human beings. It really doesn't make you special. It doesn't make you any lesser or above. It is just the way it is. Okay? It'd be like trying to sit there and point out the difference between, you know, like, it'd be like pointing out the difference between a red-nosed pit and a blue-nosed pit. It's the same damn dog. There ain't nothing different. So, by you trying to dig into those micro-scale things, it's a pursuit of the flesh. And again, you know, you're hoping some flesh is going to do something for you that Elohim, that's what I mean. It comes down to two things. You are the only flesh that's going to save your ass by walking out those 10 commandments, being righteous and in my purview. You want to be saved on my master copy. You do not want to be, you know, on Jack's copy, right? Because guess what? That information is never going to be transferred over into the heavenly disc, because let's say this, in a human way, right? So you have a home you just bought, but there's stuff left all in it from the previous tenant. Well, as the homeowner, right, you can go in there and you're not looking to save everything. You have your own stuff that's going to fill in those corners, and you have your own paint that's going to go here, and you're remodeling the bathroom anyway. So as you're going through the new house you bought, right, you're like, okay, well, that's a nice cookie jar. Maybe I'll save that. Oh, okay, that's a rug I could probably use. I'll roll that up. Oh, maybe there's a good painting, a couple of good dishes. Oh, maybe there's a new crock pot no one ever opened from Christmas a couple years ago. Then at the end of it, it's like, okay, demo crew, come in here and get it all out. I, as Elohim, am doing that right now. I'm coming upon people, places, and things in spirit, and I'm going, who wants up? And instead of even getting acknowledgement, feedback, or genuine requests, it's the apes saying, my butt makes cherries. I'm going to eat the cherries. No, you're just eating poop. Like, you understand that there is no logical nor even like fantastical truth to any of your claims. There is one Elohim that can change, replace, move, modify, end, start any and all things. And that's Yahweh Elohim Yahuwah. And that is I. That is the God of all creation in this vessel, in this car, in this flesh. And definitely don't need no AI to do anything other than create pictures that are not going to be watermarked. All right. I'm going to take a 5 and then we will reconvene. And we're back. So, all right. Round out that kind of section, you know, because I know people. That's another thing. I'm never going to be anything other than who I really am to anyone. And it's like using that sort of truth, right? I'm coming down through all the lies. But as I do, it's hurting people's ego. It's hurting their feelings. It's probably hurting their pocketbook. It's hurting their image. And the monkey brain of humans are, I'm gonna follow the big ape. I'm gonna follow the big ape. I'm gonna go do what he does. He's rich, I'm be rich. He likes boats, I like boats. This and that and this and that. Okay, well, monkey man, you might be good decor for the next time I create the earth. But what purpose are you then to me? You don't know me. I never knew you. I turned your face away from me and take your idolatry, take your Jesus, and go do you. Yeah, because it's like instead of the remnant or even the righteous, right, trying to instill like righteousness, I have like literal pastors that are banding together to prevent the 10 Commandments. Like, I sentence you to be handled by demons harshly, because then at what point now you are an infiltrator, now you are an infidel, you are a traitor, you are an insurgent into the budding kingdom on earth, and like that again makes no sense. Like, well, we have laws against at least half the 10 Commandments, but we're going to reject those. So then you are literally embracing a barbarian, heathen, monkey society. This isn't Planet of the Apes, people. But I know that might be news to most of you. Now to my favorite part. Death by 1,000 cuts. Nations. Newsflash. America is not your daddy when you spit in the eyes of me, your Elohim, P. Trump, or Benjamin. NATO can kiss my blessings goodbye, and we will do what is required and is necessary for my two nations. America will look out for America and Israel will look out for Israel and America, and I, as their Elohim, will look out for both Israel and America. Nowhere does that say that I can't use Russia to come right on in there, right into Europe, and eat your asses alive. You are never going to say in one side of your mouth, Starmer, we love President Trump and we're happy to do business with America and trade our cornflakes with one another. But we are pussies. We are disgusting vaginal secretions that will give in to evil because I am an idiot monkey. I am just an idiot monkey. And you are. And you know what? See, special people like you think you're special. I'm going to make you special. I'm going to make sure that you look like a little monkey. Like, the little ones that play the tambourines and they jump up and down and they have the little leash and they have the little music cart. I'm going to make that one for you. Just for you. See, you are special in my eyes. I'll make sure you're a little monkey in hell to dance around, and you can't even speak. You're just gonna ooh, ooh, ah, ah. So that one's for you. Yeah, because the fact of the matter is, right, especially Australia, right, you guys want to side with wicked and evil, then you're in the same monkey boat as Starmer, right? Same thing with your Canada people. You're never going to stand against the U.S. and Israel while then asking for help with Russia. Stupid people. Is what I mean. Like, the level of intelligence is so bad now. I mean, it's undigestible, because understand me, Trump's adhesion to my purpose, pattern, and plan is his redemption. That is his salvation. And he is working through that on a very personal and custom to me type of plan. Okay? So, we will withhold any and all American firepower, shipments, ammunition, bombs, everything. I will withhold everything from NATO. You guys didn't even put in the right amount of money for so long. And now you want to, because the threat becomes real. We don't play that game. You all are a bunch of fornicating idolaters, little monkey heathens who like your wine and dress up in fancy monkey clothes. You are gonna be toast. Go ahead, President Putin. You have my holy permission. Roll your tanks on into Poland, into Germany, into France, but please do me a favor. Do me, your Elohim, a favor. Run them right through England. Take out Castle Windsor for me. That'll be a retribution. You all wanted to withhold the Almighty's temple. You wanted to withhold a proper place for Elohim. Now I will condemn all of your places. Because to me, it is truly, it should be at the admiration of all people on earth that my presence is here now. It truly should be. And you all are gushing after any and everything that does not get you to heaven. So, you don't want it, I won't give it. That's what I mean. I have no idea how you could literally... How you must have a wicked heart if you truly look at a non-existent peace. Like, if you again want two-state solutions, then London, go ahead, open up a big cut there for the Palestinian state. It can go right there in the middle of London. It can, Australia, you guys have tons of land, and hey, the Middle East is desert anyway. I'm sure the Palestinians would love Australia. And go ahead and give them some land, you know. Maybe even you could give them like those dune buggies to make sure they can get into your cities and your little acropolises or metropolises, you know, faster, so they can commit their acts of violence against you. Because I don't really give a shit anymore. Like, I really don't give a shit anymore. You guys are all nasty. The United Nations, I actually have zero, that is 000,000 people that are going to be rebirthed or going into heaven. That is a 100%. You're all going to hell, so sweareth I, saith Yahweh Elohim Yahuwah. And when, just at that exact moment, when the human mind goes into the monkey brain and goes, well, there is no hell. There's not even heaven. There's just right now. There's this earth and all those things in it in the game in which I play. Again, if I gave you pizza dough in a bag, pepperoni, cheese, and red sauce, and I put it on the moon, a desolate rock of nothing, tell me when that would make itself and bake itself. All the things that you all play with are mine. Every dollar you transact is mine. Every home you live in is mine and stands by my good graces. Every time you open your front door and it's nice and sunny and beautiful, or anything, that's by the good graces of heaven. It's true. And you all don't realize that. You know, people may go, well, Yahweh, you were talking about F's and C's and D's. Well, what is it? Who's an A student? Who's an A student? An A student would be Yeshua when he made his ascent. And then again, as I, in the past, right, I have a tendency to rename people. That's an affirmative pattern, right? Jacob becomes Israel. Hosea became Joshua or Yahushua in those days. You know, a lot of these, players had their names changed because then they were no longer the dead flesh that they were. They then became a part of me, right? And Abraham, right? So Abram became Abraham, and a part of the last name Ham. Abraham, the same thing with Noah and Ham, but also me as Yahweh Elohim, right? My first name is Joshua, right? Or Yahushua, the same Messiah name as your Jesus, the same Messiah name as Joshua before him, but my last name, meaning Graham, exalted strength. So Gra and then Ham. It has the Abraham, it has the Ham, also from Noah. So all my name, that's my driver's license name, never been changed since I was born with it. Those are all my heavenly presence transliterated into the physical domain of earth. And yet humans, right, you guys in the past have killed prophets because they tell you things you didn't want to hear. And then only when a lot of time has passed, thousands of years have passed, then it's like you revisit the subject with a more mature mind, and then you guys look back and go, oh, poor Stephen was stoned for this. Why were they stoned? Because they spoke against the same people that I speak against today. The principalities, the powers that govern this world. I said don't use the false name of Jesus. Instead, use the Elohim, your creator's name. Because let me tell you something. Let's say that Yeshua himself descended down. Let's say I, as Yahweh, pulled him out from heaven. I said, Yeshua, I'm sorry to bother your beautiful eternal life and all your friends that you saved while you were here. But I need you to speak in front of an audience here. If he was to get up there at your little man worship ceremony, he would be, and I can't even do Yeshua's voice, but it would be something like, you idiots, you do not worship me, you worship Yahweh Elohim, Yahuwah, Yahweh. You can only be saved by him, the Almighty. You can only be redirected into your steps by him. He who lives in you is greater than you. You need to obtain the Holy Spirit. You need to obtain salvation and have all these experiences. And yet, mankind still wants to, and that's what I mean. Even if we weren't even in the fake name, because that really just adds insult to injury. It really does. I, as father, come home, and it's I left. Everyone at least looked good in appearance. Y'all may have been doing some shady shit behind my back, but it's at least when I left the house, everyone was kind of looking okay. Now I come back, and I'm like, is that a nose ring? Is that an eyebrow ring? Is that a I love Jesus tattoo on your face? What the fuck happened to you all? Did you just fall over into the demon's... I'm gonna be good. Because I can't, you guys. I can't. But I say, don't use the false name, guys. You have transgender demons now coming to full bloom, and they're coming after everybody who's not literally protected by my hands, by my name, by my blessing. And it's humans go, I don't care what God says. I love Jesus. You. Well, there you go. I told you. Stupid asses. That's what I mean. You guys wouldn't go... Stupid. You guys get a sniffle and you're terrified it's COVID, so you go and kiss your doctor's ass, then your pharmacist's ass to get the prescription so you don't have COVID for 10 damn days. You stupid. But when it comes to your eternal life and God himself telling you the right thing versus the wrong thing, Jesus. Okay. Well, here we are. You know? And then people are like, rapture the 23rd. Guys, I'm here to tell you, if there's going to be a rapture, I'll let you know. But at this point, the only thing you have is being protected by my name, knowing my commandments, reading that book, knowing what's true versus false, being able to read Genesis to Revelation and know what's real, what's not real, what's for me, Elohim, what's for man, what's from the Catholic Church, or versus what was for me. Being able to read in between the lines of the New Testament, that's another thing. After your visit to heaven, you will never read the New Testament the same again. So when I approach churches and I hear certain sermons, especially in the New Testament, that's all I have to know, because that proves to me that you are either refusing your ascension, which in reality, if you want to call it a rapture, let's use the language just for your flesh. I'll tickle your ears, right? So your rapture is when your soul has left your body and you have went up to heaven and you have seen me, the face of Yahweh, Elohim, Yahuwah. I have given you your scroll. You have a purpose, and when you come down, you are in 360 degree different. You are so different that you would then come home and immediately see who was once your wife and go, oh my gosh, you're so sinful. You see things now almost as like a paranoia. You turn on the TV and you're like, they're blatantly sinful. They're sitting here trying to poison mankind. Everything on the TV is buy this, be like this. You know, I hate this Jason Kelsey. I have nothing against Jason Kelsey as a person, because if I had problems with all dumb people, I would just literally hate the world, and I don't really hate the world. I mean, I hate most of the world. But like these commercials, right? They're literally they're monkey selling is what they do. And they all do it for paper. Like, how silly. You guys have so much other shit you could have really been fighting for, but yet now it's paper. Like, y'all are really that dumb. But whatever. You know, and it's like, be like Jason Kelsey. He has the Sunday ticket. Look how happy he is. Look, with the click of a button, now he has friends. Be like Jason Kelsey. Buy the Sunday ticket. And I bet you every time that commercial comes on, there's an influx of subscriptions. Worthless humanity. Worthless humanity. You are all in the end times, and your salvation is on the line. Your agreeance with me and receiving a direct blessing from me to receive that eternal life is on the line. I give you instructions every day, what to do, how to do it, why to do it, what happens when you do it. And none of you want it, because it's not sweet. It doesn't itch your ears. It doesn't please your flesh. I told you. You are all here in this time, not by mistake. Everyone here that is left, okay? You're all here for reasons that your subconscious knows, I as Elohim knows, your heart should know. None of you were born pure. None of you walked a pure life. I don't even want to run the numbers, but all of you have, premarital sex. A lot of you have bastard children. A lot of you continuously go down the Jesus lane, which is idolatry, which is a direct sin and out of compliance with me, Yahweh Elohim. Even if you were to honor Yeshua, you honor him by seeing him as a teacher in the flesh that was taught by Elohim directly, me, Yahweh Elohim. That is special. Why do you need more than that? Why do you need something more than that? That's to that point, right? How would, like, the Israelites, stack up against those of today? In retrospect, really, I as Yahweh should have let Joshua just behead a hell of a lot more Israelites. It would have lightened the load, because they were pretty much the same. But guess what? Through that refining desert moment, through that dizzying day to day to day to day to year to year to year to year to year, wandering in circles because nobody could listen. Because everybody was haughty on themselves. They're talking intense. They're talking amongst themselves. They're scheming. They're trying to sit there and predict what I, as Elohim, am going to do for them and why they're so special. And that I fasted 4 days and nothing happened. You know, I didn't get enough manna. Like, you're weak sauce. You're all weak sauce. You know. All right, I'm gonna take, I think, my final break, and then I will return to do our third part and then close. Alrighty. So, go into a few more topical, I think, and then we can round the day out. You know. So, again, a lot of it is motivation. You know, if you're trying to be popular in society, you want to go to big Christian concerts, you know, you want to man worship Kirk, make him a deity, or, you know, some immortal, like definitely not immortal, and, you know, won't go into that, but then, right, then you pick up a surface level faith that the Pope tells you to have, right, where, you know, by just speaking kind words that have no action, no fulfillment, and no bite to the bark, it somehow does anything, right? It doesn't do anything when you're calling for a ceasefire that actually brings no peace, and then does not fulfill the duty and requirement of justice. You see, you cannot have peace without justice. You cannot have a civilization without a law, and you cannot have, you know, a line that separates the good from the bad without having the line being drawn, you know, and to the point where when you've made your ascension and you come down, you are a different person. You see the world completely backwards, and instead of being born in the upside down world and being accustomed and used to it and a part of their ways, and then chasing after what the masses, you know, oh, I need the iPhone, I need these boots, I need this shirt, I need this job, I need this model wife or model husband or model job or the boat and the yacht, and then guess what? You're a flesh, monkey-brained nobody. You are everything to everybody in the upside down world, but then you truly are not even in the kingdom at that point. But if you were, you would be shunned by the angels. You would be mocked by the other humans. You know, here's a little drama. Asherah, and I was telling her this one the other day. You know, she kind of thought it was funny, but, you know, I also use her as my gauge, right? And her and I, as the divine couple, what's the proof of the pudding of that is, you know, we together created one son. That son is Cameron. Cameron is literally perfect in every way, right? Fully divine. He's not a half-breed. Neither am I, neither is Asherah. But Cameron doesn't require an ascension. Cameron came from heaven basically fully loaded with everything he ever needs. He's 9 years old, and he could school pastors about me. He could literally hold his own in any and all conversations. He would never. He's too righteous for that, and he's set apart from that. But the point is, he sees the world as it is, and it's upside down. He has no interest in the pleasures of the world. You know, we had his birthday party, you know, this weekend, and, you know, it was a big turnout. It was really nice to see his friends supporting him, and, you know, and I would consider them relatively good, normal, I guess-ish, good people on the surface, right? But then below the surface, they're all struggling with sin. They're all struggling with, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But either way, that's where their focus is on money. Their focus is on what next task do I have in this world to give me encouragement, to give me hope, to give me, attention? And that's all faulty, right? Because when you make your ascension, you come down and you're like, I can't even go in the gas station, without standing behind someone, and then they're like, oh, I need to win the lottery, it'll change my life, it'll do all these things, and it's like, you poor thing. Even if you won the lottery, it doesn't make you any better. And it gets you not closer to heaven. It doesn't get you closer to me and my name. If you read the Bible front to back without the proper perspective and without the accompaniment of me, the Holy Spirit, you can read it until the cows come home and it'll never make sense. It'll never click. The only thing your mind will be able to retain is Jesus. And back in ancient Jerusalem, back in Galilee with Yeshua, when I was, in Yeshua, as I'm talking to you now, I was talking to him. It's why he would go and pray, and he would do all these things separate from even the disciples, because, he wanted to focus more on me than on himself. He wanted to focus more on me than anything. And, then he, obviously he was confirmed and he had a mission, and he knew what was to come. And he's like, well, Father, is why? He's like, why do I need to go through all this if only in the future, right, the very sins in which you've warned against, they all fall into on my behalf? And I said, well, Yeshua, here's the deal. That crucifixion is actually going to make you famous. And he's like, but I don't want to be famous. I just want to, be one with you, Father, and I want to ascend back home, and I want to do those things that you showed me exist here and there, and and I'm like, I know, but understand, like I told him, I said, the tail on these things can sometimes be long, but understand that it's necessary, because I know the false hearts of man, and I know the way they operate, and I knew what Rome would do to the name. I knew that the Jews would destroy the writings of Yeshua. Whether or not, that's another thing, right? And I don't actually look at the Jews harshly in this, because for all intents and purposes, they got away from hearing my voice. There became less and less and less worthy vessels to be able to orate or be able to inspire for new actual writings from me, and instead they began listening to themselves and then authoring works that I did not sanction. And they got further and further away from me and more into their own traditions, into their own self-admiration, right? That's where, Yeshua at that time, man, he was like, here I am. I said, let's do it. And that inspired me as Elohim to work through him, to rebuke them, right? But then also to have that turning point, speaking of turning point, having that turning point that his crucifixion was the only way that he was going to be famous. Because if it wasn't for the crucifixion, then it would not have actually cast a wide enough net on humanity. Because again, false hearts, right? You guys look at surface level tragedy without any depth, and then you make opinions, assumptions, and then you fall into fantastical, and before you know it, you've created a religion, you've created a faith, you've created an egregor, which is essentially you're using your own beliefs, faulty or not, right, to essentially like do things, right? Idols, like, it's insane. And that's what I mean, right? Is I knew all this obviously was going to happen, and he did too. Which is why he said, my name is going to be, oh man. And that's another thing, because as Yeshua and I are talking, he's like, well, but won't they? He's like, but I don't get it. He's like, won't they just no, right? Like, in his time, he's like, but it's not like that hard, that it's not that big of a gap to really put the pieces together, Father. He's like, why? How could they be so stupid? Really, is what he would say. Like, how can they be so beyond that? It's like, well, Yeshua, because as wicked as the world is today, this was back then, I'm like, you have not even a clue. And he would be literally sitting on a rock and just with his eyes closed. He'd be wearing his, he had like a long like coat type of thing. And, he'd be just laying back with his eyes closed, and we would be conversing, talking to him. And I would show him little clips of the future, and I'm like, you won't believe it. Like, their norm, if we had like a thermometer of sin, their norm would be at like the 90 to 100 degrees, like the highest it can go in sin, and that will be their norm. And he's like, so like what? Like what are they doing? Like, are they lying? Are they committing adultery? They're idolaters, aren't they? He's like, they're worshiping Baal. And I'm like, Yeshua, you don't even know. Like, I'm gonna show you, And so I literally would show him these clips, and I'm like, look at this. You watch a 1-hour TV program, 6 commercials, 3 of them are trying to sell you medication, the other 2 are trying to convince you of a lifestyle change, and then the 6th one is trying to get you to have sympathy for the adversaries. And he's like, wow, and then literally, as we're talking, I'm like, it says here, do not worship the dead, do not try and speak with the dead, right? The only power is, that you're living God, so on and so forth. And, he himself, was not only appalled, but he was like, I don't want to say reluctant, because he was never reluctant to work my will, but instead, he's like, Father, if it's going to cause you trouble, I don't want to do it. He's like, I don't want to cause you trouble. And I'm like, Yeshua, you're not causing me trouble, and it has nothing to do with you as an individual. He gave everything up to me, right? Like I said, when Abram, was going to sacrifice. And again, that's a test. Hopefully everybody understands that it's a test of loyalty. It's a test that if I say, I need $1 million, I get $1 million. What I need to do with that $1 million, you need to be assured of it, that I, as Elohim, am going to be doing the will of heaven for it. Or, if I need people to go to Israel on this date, for this time and this purpose, what I mean is, Abraham didn't sit there and pepper with questions. Abraham said, I see the Almighty. This is the biggest thing ever to have ever happened to me, the biggest opportunity to have ever happened to me, and no matter what Elohim is saying, yes, that's what I mean with Yeshua. Yeshua was that way. It wasn't, okay, cool, Yahweh, so let me get the picture clear, let me go ahead and ask you a bunch of questions, let me see how it's going to benefit me, where am I gonna, no. They all were loyal unto me, and what they now have in their afterlife is truly their real life. When they look back upon their earthly life, without skipping a beat, every one of them would consider earth now hell. They would consider earth now hell, devoid of goodness, absolutely abstinent from Elohim, 0 passion for me, 0 faith in me. And instead, people like to put those dividers between me and man. They're like, well, we like Elohim, kind of, but we're going to put our man to worship in the middle, right? And that's what I mean. Disobedience, like, really is the cup of tea for humanity. All right, what else do we have here today? Cover that. I covered the world leaders and their stupidness, the withholding from NATO because they want to side with Palestine, Israel. There will never be a 2-state solution that recognizes Palestine. They can go in other countries. Gaza needs to be annexed, renamed, again, either New Jerusalem or New Canaan, something to that effect, but it's going to be fully 100% no Allah worshippers, no jihad. No, it's going to be obedient those unto the Bible under one Elohim, Yahweh Elohim, and then you know what? Then you don't have separation of religion. You don't have the separation of the devil and the righteous Elohim, Yahweh Elohim, who is I, Yahuwah. Instead, you would have the good people, regardless of color, regardless of location, regardless of anything. They find a common denominator that one side is righteous and good and honors the one true God, and the other side will create every and all excuses to not do those things. Like, that's really the sum of it. That's really the sum of it. Let's see. I have some new socks coming today. That's going to be nice. See how nice. My wife saw that I needed socks. They got holes all in them. And instead of me just not getting socks, she like pulls them up last night and she's like, we need to get you some socks. So that's nice of her. And that's another thing, people want to know, what do I do with my day? Obviously, I spend, a considerable an hour at least a day with you guys, minus the weekend. But in the morning, I'm a family, I'm the head of the family, but I'm the chief cook of the family. In the morning, Ashura, she works, her corporate job from home. So I make sure she has a nice breakfast every day. 2 eggs, toast, and some nice butter grits. I make her breakfast every morning. Depends on how busy the day is, but we'll have our turkey wraps for lunch. I make dinner for the children. I keep the house clean. I keep the yard manicured. But as I'm doing all those things, what I'm really doing is I'm building construct. So, like human beings, the monkey brain, you guys can have what's called ideas, and then you can follow through with your ideas through the work of your hands. I, as Elohim, only have to build a construct in here. If I look highly upon somebody, not highly, but if I look and smile upon somebody, and I'm like, man, they're really deserving of something, I'm going to go build a construct for them. So I do this to a person or a place or a congregation or anybody, really, if I want to. But when the tone of the world is against me, the tone of the world rebukes my name, the tone of the world wants to talk about AI is getting the glory. You guys even give glory to Satan. You guys give glory to Lucifer. You give glory to Baal. You give glory to P. Trump, to Kirk, to freaking whoever. Everybody other than who you're supposed to give glory to. And in which case, I will not be your redeemer. I will not be your helper. I will not be your shield. I will not be your righteousness. I will not be anything to you because you don't want to be anything to me. That's fact. That's fact. So, the Earth domain is a big testing ground right now. And few, very few, are even on the narrow. Most of them fell off a long time ago. They fell off a long time ago because their biggest hurdle is they themselves can't tell the truth. So if they themselves are full of hidden lies, hidden sins, hidden transgressions, then with 100% accuracy, they will never come to the truth of the name of Yahweh Elohim Yahuwah. They will never come to the truth of Yahushua, right? That was his changed name after his ascent. His birth name meaning Yeshua, the salvation. But again, he was separated from all the hundreds of other Yeshuas that were born back then by putting the YAH in front of it, meaning that now it's salvation, but it is Yahweh who is with him. It is Yahweh Elohim who is with him. That's what I mean. So, by going completely off the rails and going with Jesus, you're not even in the pronunciation. You're not even in the right understanding. You're not even in the only thing that ties the New Testament witness into the book. Because truly, if it be accurate, it should have been writings that Yeshua did, and he would present them to his disciples and say, this is what the Father and I talked about. And then he would sit down with his disciples and they would go over it together, kind of like I'm doing with you, but instead of it being disciples, this is to the world. I have about 8.6 billion people that I'm going to have to stand up for judgment. That's a lot of work that I have to do. But I do my work from heaven, here on earth, and most of the time I'm doing busy work at home, still maintaining my own standard. I still maintain my own standards of keeping a proper home, being the proper head of the family, instilling righteousness into my wife, into my children, and my standards are quite high for my family. Now, every day isn't just a walk in paradise. There are challenges that still present themselves. We do still live in an upside down world. And Asher, I, and Cameron, right, we are here for the long haul. We are here to truly do the work on earth as done in heaven. And that really is saving souls in the right manner. Because just like how Keir Starmer speaking out against, Israel and declaring a free Palestine, at the exact same time, there's literally mass shootings happening everywhere. People going, free Palestine! Pow, 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 pow. Demon sickos. But yet, let's free Palestine! Maybe they'll stop killing us. You're stupid. You're stupid. But the point is, I do this, the world classifies it as something else. I say this, the world files it away under that. No matter what I do, the world is never short of unrighteous, demonic-infested human beings with monkey brains willing to put their opinions are like assholes, everyone has one. And most of you have no problem spewing the garbage from your mouth. Like probably today we'll see a bunch of rapture, and guess what happens after every one of your rapture videos? You're still here because I as Elohim are saying no one's going anywhere until you clean my house and build my temple. And then guess what? If you make it to the end, if you make it to the last and the final cut, see, if you know movies, you'd know that the final result is not what started. From day 1 to day 0, there's a lot of characters that were introduced in the beginning that didn't make it to the end. There were a lot of stones that had to be stepped on in order to get to the final end. There were a lot of Israelites that came out of Pharaoh, but there were none almost that came in through Canaan. But each person, whether they did good or whether they did bad, they served as a lesson. So Abraham walked away with a giant blessing and the proof of lineage that can be proved now because he obeyed every single thing I said. I showed up. Abraham could be, and true, Abraham could be right in the middle. I love Abraham, but he could actually be a little rough when it came to women. This is not a different, the Middle East, especially Middle Eastern men of that time with Abraham, they had a penchant for being a little rough with their women, which I as Elohim do not like that. I do not like it when men handle women roughly. I as Elohim treat my Asherah with baby gloves. I do. But at the same time, right, I instill in her righteousness. But as Elohim, I still keep a watchful eye out for her as well. But in the olden days, I would show up, Abraham would be chastising his wife, and I'm but I'm saying in that moment, he'd drop. I mean, he'd drop to his face. And then I'd walk up to him, put my hand on his shoulder, and I'd say, come on, arise, Abraham, it's okay. And then he'd be like, Lord. I'm like, no, pick it up. Let's go for a walk. And we'd go for a walk. And that's what I mean. We would talk. And I would impart wisdom. I would impart future things to him. And in that time, he's, it's so magnificent. It's so magnificent. My majesty is so magnificent. And sometimes it wouldn't even be illegible, like words. He would just, he'd be in the middle. I'm like, don't pray right when I'm here, like, let's talk, But that's how important I was to him. That's how important I should be to all of you. But it's not. But it's not. But as we say in heaven and the realms, a not is just a not yet. Because as the set apart Elohim, as the King of Kings, as the creator of gods and men, my will be done. That is the end of a sentence. And that is the beginning of a story. The story is written and told as I see it, not how you see it. I don't give a flying rat's ass if you try to present to me the Greek Septuagint, if you try to present to me that this and that and the other. If I say I don't like the color blue, then get the blue out of my face and out of your home and out of your eyes. If I say I disagree with something, then that needs to be your position. That needs to be your perspective. Period. It isn't the Mankind show. It isn't the Trump show or the Starmer show. It isn't the King show. It isn't Osteo Cortez. I don't even know your damn name. It's none of your shows. It's my show. I'm the writer, the author, the narrator, the maker, the producer, the funder, the founder. I'm the main character, the first character, the last character. That's it. That's it. So, alrighty. I will actually take one more break. Make sure I don't have anything else to go over. I feel like I'm missing something still. And then I will cap it off. Alrighty. So I made me my fruit juice. I'm still trying to, I'm not on a diet to lose weight or anything, but I am trying to eat, just higher caliber things, higher fiber, introducing more fruit. So cutting some fresh lemon, putting that in a half water with a little bit of like a fruit punch cocktail type of thing, like a cran raspberry, just to give it a little bit of flavor, but keeping it all natural, right? Or a little shot of pomegranate, stuff like that. It's good for the mind, good for the body. But I think in summary, and I don't like doing this too often, because I think that if the unstable mind or the unsaved soul hears my messages, or even gets residue of my messages via the Spirit, it irritates demons. So anytime I'm working, right, this is me working above and below at the same time, it begins to irritate demons. And that's when I literally see they're just flooring it on Jesus, right? They really are. They're leaning into it because they think that somehow that they're sticking it to the man. And that's how demons feel. It really is. They're sticking it to the man. They're like, Yahweh, forget you. They've forgotten you. They like our false religion. They like things that are unholy but look holy. They like things that sound truthful but they're actually lies. This is what humans want. And to me, the fallen angels, now demons, they look at me and they go, they love us better than you. That's what I mean. So when humans leaning into, a lie is the answer. A lie is the answer. God the Father is okay with lies. God the Father is okay with, us blaspheming him. God the Father is okay with us shitting on his kingdom. God the Father is okay with us doing whatever the hell we want, asking for placebo power of the false name. So this is all demon stuff. And humans, with the monkey mind, you don't know any better. As your Yeshua said, right? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Well, I only half took Yeshua's request to heart, because most of them deserve the ultimate penalty, which is hell. Because I don't care how great somebody was for a mankind cause. I don't look at anyone, any human being, great in any way. I don't look at President Trump as great. I don't look at Netanyahu as great. I don't look at Putin as great, I don't look at your conservative leaders, your big names, the people that walk into news studios like there's somebody, like, here sir, here's a platter of sandwiches and a drink and a sparkling beverage, and we'll worship you, whatever you need, just please come on our TV program and make our ratings go up. I will crush those ratings. I don't really give a shit. Fact of the matter is, you are all behaving like little demons. Thus, your father is the devil and you act like him. So that means you're going to have to go against your nature. It means you're going to have to fight against your mind. You're going to have to fight against your false heart. You're going to have to fight against being liked by society. You're going to have to outcast yourself if you're going to hold on to the truth. But I tell you this, sweareth I, saith the Lord God Almighty, Yahweh Elohim Yahuwah, the truth will set you free. You will be free of what society tells you to do. You will be independent to think about me, your Elohim, in the way I want you to be and how I want you to do it. At no point in this game, at no point in the end days, is it I as Elohim go, okay, yeah, so good job on kind of getting my name right. Good job on talking to someone at a random place about kind of the name. But you said these were your churches. These weren't my churches. You didn't bring them to me. They didn't drink from the living water and receive an eternal life and thus a scroll of purpose from me. So, Pastor, how many do you have on your list? I have 50 people. Okay, that's 50 penances. That's 50,000 years in hell. Goodbye. How many did you have, Pastor? I had 1,500 patrons. Check my list. Damn, not one of them either came to me to drink the water. Not one of them inherited eternal life. That's 1.5 million years in penance that you'll spend in hell. Thank you. Just keep on going. See, everything that mankind does for mankind's own gain is a smoke to my nose, and thus I punish you for it. So be really, really, really careful with what you're doing and how you're doing it. If you're talking about government conspiracy, look down, because you're going to go there. If you are pulling your attention to the flavor of the week of whatever the media is man-worshipping and constantly at insanity, at nauseum, you do understand there is other news happening in the world. There are lots of people dying every day. But boy, when you guys get your idolatry going, it's like a fucking dog in heat. They used to call that bitch. They used to call a dog in heat a bitch. You're all a bunch of bitches. You're like dogs in heat. You get hot and heavy over an idol, or hot and heavy over a fallen one, or hot and heavy over some other man to worship. When Trump was on campaign, you guys were man worshiping Trump. And that's what I mean. Trump's only salvation is me. So if I tell Trump to withhold any and all things of American and Israel strength from Europe, he will listen. Because Trump knows this. He has as much time on this earth as I give him. He's walking in a void, as I said, through a right. Most of you, if not, you should be reading my rights. They should not stray you. In fact, they should strengthen you, because I give explanations at multi-levels. I give explanations for our D students, our C students, not our A students, but really our B, C, D, and F students. A students receive the upstairs sitting at the table treatment. And guess what? Rarely will you find them in YouTube land. Rarely will you find them in a church, because what they're doing is they're doing what I am telling them to do in the secret places in heaven. They're not wondering about a rapture. They're not wondering about, they've already been to heaven. They've already been to heaven, had a vacation, they've come down. That's what I mean. So if you guys are all like, rapture, this, that, you've already lost the game. While everybody was busy making money, and everybody was busy up each other's asses, and everybody was busy sinning, I am the one who walked into the darkness, and I called it for what it is. And when I was mocked, hated, beat up, ran over by trucks for my righteousness, I got up and laughed and spit blood in your faces. As I said, is that it? Is that all you have? You sinful, pathetic humanity. I clung on to the only thing that I knew was real, and that was Yahweh Elohim Yahuwah. And I didn't have any outside influence, because the world hated me from birth. The world wanted to kill me at birth. The only one that altered that trajectory was Yahweh Elohim Yahuwah. That's it. And then we became one. We became one. Because while mankind stood off in the distance and mocked this because it looks dark, he must be evil, while that same person just went and lied to their husband, when that same person just went and did a backhanded deal at work, that same person, cut in line, that same person who's in love with self, surface level goes, it's evil. No, it's what you've been trained by demons to think is evil, you stupid. That's what I mean. While everybody was busy getting theirs, I was busy hunting down demons. Before I knew I was Yahweh Elohim, I knew I was something, but I didn't exactly know what. And you know what? From the first breath of understanding that I was something different than mankind, I knew in my heart righteousness, and I knew that if I had a power to go into the spiritual realm, and I had an ability to prison souls and to even destroy entities, that I would do it for the glory of heaven, that I would reduce demonic presence anywhere mine was, and I would clear ways for very few people that I deemed righteous in my life. And so far, it's 2 people. Those 2 people that I've deemed righteous just so happen to live under my roof. That is Asherah, and that is Cameron. And again, mankind wants to play coy about my Asherah. Then play coy, because guess what? That goddess is my wife, my lover, my consort, my queen. And between her and I, and her and I alone, we will repopulate the new earth. Because then it will be pure and clean. And then all seeds would then be divine. All seeds would then have a bi-spiritual existence. There is no elusiveness of heaven. There is no needing mankind for anything. A person is born. A person knows their creator. They know their purpose. They know their angel. They walk out their life in purity. And nothing could derail them. They're not tempted by flesh. They're not tempted by sex. They're not tempted by drugs or alcohol or fame or fortune or presence of people. They're not motivated and even shun large crowds of people. They shun any and all things that are not in accordance with me, Elohim, Yahweh Elohim. So, people say, well, Yahweh, you're really quick to damn these people and damn these people and send people to hell. No, you all do that to yourself. You do that to yourself, right? Simple parable, and we'll close it. Say the person walks around constantly itching their hair. Well, you have lice. No, I don't. Yeah, you do. You're going to need to shave your hair and, make sure you don't go back into those places. I'm not shaving my hair. It's taking me this long to do it. I'm not giving up Jesus. I've worshipped Jesus my whole life. And look at me. I got a boat. I got a big home. I got a I got 5,000 congregation. Do you know how many people we fed this week? Do you know that I have pictures of me at the soup kitchen feeding the homeless? Do you know that I go to the hospital and I talk to dying people? You don't know how good I am. Really? I see. Okay. Well, I told you to shave your head and you'll get rid of the lice. The fuck does everything you just told me have to do with that? Have a good Monday.